Hey guys, this is Aryan Karani from Kid with the Camera, back with the CS content, finally. Welcome to my HTML tutorial, part of a series I like to call Quickstarts. Now, I want to keep these tailored to beginners, so that you, the viewer, doesn't have to wonder what all the technical jargon means when trying to get started with coding. So let's get started. HTML is the language of the web, and it can also be called the backbone of the website, and can be used to make websites just like this one. Now, knowing HTML won't magically create an amazing dream website, but it's really important to know the fundamentals. So, what's HTML? HTML's full form is Hypertext Markup Language. A markup language is basically plain text with a few extra features. It can be used to style and format plain text, and HTML is like a super powerful version of that. For example, you can make bold text, bigger font sizes, and so on right within your text file without having to play with settings like in Microsoft Word. Fun fact, apps like Microsoft Word and Google Docs are called WYSIWYG editors. What you see is what you get. Anyways, let's look at the most basic HTML document. Basically a blank web page. Whoa, that looks like a lot. So let's remove some of the junk for now. Now, before I break it down, there's one thing I want you to notice. Almost every HTML element has an opening tag and a closing tag, just like this title element. Now, there are exceptions, but this is the basic syntax. Now, let me break the code down step by step. This first line tells you that the document represents HTML text, hence the doc type HTML. So as I'm editing this, I realized that the first line tells you the version of HTML that the document is using, not that the document is HTML text. The second line represents the start of the main document, hence the HTML tag. This head tag is the header of the document that includes metadata. Now, metadata is basically extra information about the web page that helps the browser to understand it better, and the end user usually never sees anything on it. Now, this body tag, this body element, represents everything that the user will end up seeing, containing other tags that represent other information. And here's an example of what your body tag could contain. This H1 tag represents a heading. The H2 tag is also a heading, but just smaller. The A tag is an anchor tag, which represents a clickable link. The image tag is an image, and the path or URL to the image goes in the source string. And that's a string is basically just text. The P tag is the paragraph tag, and you can just think of it as plain text. The div tag is a container for more elements. It's generally used for creating blocks of content which you want to style the same, but more on that later. And the H3 tag is an even smaller heading than the H2 tag. And this is what an HTML body might actually contain. So you can see this is what a HTML page might look like when it's all populated. Another thing I want to introduce are the light blue sections in the A tag and the image tag, and those are called attributes. And it's not exclusive to those two tags. They're just some of the most common ones. If you have experience in coding, you can think of them as parameters to a function. Now, if you don't have prior experience, there are ways to provide extra information to an element. For example, the href in the A tag tells the browser that you can go to this URL when you click the text A link, hence the text between the A tags. The source tag in the image element basically is the URL or path to an image on your computer or online. Now, there are a lot of props you'll learn about as you get more advanced in HTML and web development. Now, that was a lot. And I just want to emphasize that HTML is just plain text. The tags you see here are called semantic tags. They basically give you easy ways to style and format your text. And here's an example of semantic tags, some you might have seen before. Now, there are many tags in HTML, but you don't have to memorize everything. That's what Google is for. I still find myself searching up how to make a link in HTML. So don't worry if you don't remember anything at all. Just chill out and enjoy the experience. Now, as I see it, the best way to learn coding is to just do it. So let's go. Hey guys, so you can go ahead and open up any IDE like VS Code or even just the Notepad app or if you're on a Mac, the text edit app, because that's how easy it is to write HTML. And you're going to see a live preview of the website being built as we add elements on the top right corner. So you can go ahead and start by typing out doctype HTML with that exclamation mark on the left. What it does, once again, is it tells the browser what version of HTML we're using, in this case HTML5. Next, you're going to have the HTML tag. And this is basically the root of our application. And that language equals N, that is telling the search engine that the language of our page is in English. And then we have the head tag, which once again is where all our metadata goes. And there's the body tag, which is where all our elements and anything that we want to display to the user pretty much goes. Here is the title document. And what that does is when you look at a web page, you know how in the tab it shows a little title or like a preview or a description of what you're seeing on the page? That's basically what this document is showing. And this is basically what it looks like in Safari. It'll show you that little document and you can change that and it can show like FAQ or anything you really want. It's just the title of the page. So next we're just going to make a quick heading that says HTML Quickstart. And this will be bolded and it will be in a larger font size and you can really make it say anything you want. Next, we're going to put an unordered list element. And what this does, it'll take list item elements and it'll show them in bullet points because it's unordered. If you want to make this an ordered list, just change that U to an O and it'll show numbers 1, 2, 3, 4. And there are our list items. Now you can see something interesting happening here. We have a list item and then there's the H1, which is basically the text of the list item. But then we have a H1 heading, an H1 tag inside of the list item. And you can do this in HTML. You can nest tags inside each other. And here, what this H1 is going to do, it's going to make it part of that list item. And it's basically just going to become part of the list. And you can see that on the top right, how that displays in the browser. So next we're going to add a quick image. And you can see that source prop is super long. So you can see the style equals width 100 pixels. I'm going to delete that for now. And then I'll show you exactly what that does. So this image needs that source property and you can see this gigantic URL, and this basically references an image on the web, and you can really literally search up anything on Google, an image of a camera or an image of a person or an image of Ryan Reynolds. Go ahead, copy the image address and just put it in the source property and it'll show up on your web page. So that's basically how the image tag works. Don't worry about that style, I'll explain that later. So that anchor tag is basically just a hyperlink. And you'll see that somewhere on the bottom corner if you're following along. Maybe on the bottom, a little to the right, or just hidden somewhere because the text is really small. And it's below what probably is a gigantic image if you didn't put that style with this 100 pixels. So basically what happens is when you click on that anchor tag, it'll take you to basically any website you want, but you put in the href tag. Now remember to always include the https : that https : when you're making these web pages or adding this in the href tag. Otherwise, it basically won't work. And what happens when you take out the https : is it thinks that that page is part of your website, and it'll try to go to your website URL / whatever you put in the href tag, which basically doesn't exist. So make sure to put that https : so it takes you to a new web page. Next, we're going to make a quick div, and then we're going to put stuff inside it, which is basically what divs were meant for. We're going to put a quick h1 saying this is inside a div, and a paragraph saying I want this text to be blue. I'm sorry. So this style, let's go back to this style. Nope. This style equals width 100 pixels. Style is a prop on basically every single tag that displays something like h1, unordered list, list item, image, anchor, h1, even divs. And it's basically used to modify the element in a language called CSS. And this is called inline CSS. But you can also make separate CSS files. For example, index.css, start typing some CSS in there. And it's used for styling web pages. So what do you think this style equals width 100 pixels would do? It's pretty simple. it would make the width of the image 100 pixels. Now, let's go ahead to that div. And this says, I want this text to be blue. How do you think we're going to do that? We can go ahead, go to the div, style, style. Make sure to have two quotes around the style. We can put color, blue. And color is extremely vague, but I promise this is for text color. I don't know why it's not called text color, but that's what it'll do. And it'll make the text blue. Now, how do you know that it's actually making the text blue? Or how do you know that it's applying to that div? And only to that div. We're going to go ahead to this body tag. We're going to add a style to this. We're going to go ahead and put style equals color red. And this might hurt your eyes, but what this will show you is that even though this body style, this body tag has all these tags within it, it'll make everything here red because we've put the style here at the color equals blue. Everything inside this div will be blue. And that's really what divs are really cool for, because you can individually style elements inside a div to your liking. It's basically customization. And you can add a overarching theme to your body tag and then just do little customizations in between. So I hope this helped you get started with HTML and making web pages. Comment down if you have any questions. I'll definitely answer them. Or if you want a tutorial on something else, or if there's something I could have done better during the tutorial. Thank you very much. This was Aryan Karani from Kid with the Camera. See ya!